Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Alien Addict on a rather delicious evening. It's extremely fishy because we have none other than the squid in the house. The squid. Rather be squidding. How you doing, my lad?
Ollie. Doing well.
Great to see you again. Great to see you. Brighten up my day, my friend.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to be a fun discussion today.
And do you know that's one of my favorite colors in the background? Duck egg. Is that a duck egg or is it a gray? It looks like a duck egg in this light.
You know, it was painted when I got the place, so I can't tell you the exact shade, but I do enjoy it too.
Same color as my kitchen. I love it.
Nice.
Rich, UFOTech, not saying that you're living in a kitchen.
No. Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, Rich? My lad.
Yeah, good, thanks.
I'm looking forward to this and to the discussion that you're going to have with Rava, because I think it'll be rather grand. Pardon the pun. And Lee.
Howdy.
I'm glad you've got rid of the red, Lee, because last night when you went red on your show,
it always a bit brothely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's seedy, my friend.
Yeah, how much, mate?
I think if we do, if
too much.
If we do a show on Aleister Crowley, we'll have that red in the background.
Right. Okay.
But boys, we're not here to talk about Aleister Crowley. Oh, we can do. I mean, let's face it. Everything stems from
it all, right?
No. I was thinking the other day. Oh, by the way, the chat, the people that are watching after the show, Rich is probably going to join us at some point. He may be asleep right now, but he'll probably wake up about 10 minutes in. But if anybody has his number, just buzz him a couple of times. I was thinking the other day, what better guests to get on together than Rich UFOTech and Rather Be Squidding for a conversation on a possible disclosure in our lifetime. When I say in our lifetime, I'm talking people that I'm 41. I'm not sure how old you fellas are. Well, I know how old some of you are, but you know, I'm wondering, will we? And I'm not talking about when people say disclosure has already happened, because I don't buy that. I buy a disclosure that is, we have video footage of aliens. We have an actual alien, you know, or we have their tech, or we can see where they come from. And I want solid proof. But I'm wondering if we will ever get that in our lifetime. Because if I'd have said this to my granddad when he was still alive, he'd have said when he was compos mentis, he would have said not a chance. You know, it's not going to happen. And he definitely believed that there was life out there, but he said never in our lifetime. What do you boys think?
When you mean disclosure, you're talking about not necessarily the government telling us all the secrets, but actually finding out what this mystery is. Is that kind of an accurate summation?
Rather, I want my mum, my dad, my wife to say, you were right to have been doing what you've been doing, because, you know, it's led to this. And we now know that this is a real thing.
Disclosure, Wally, is self-vindication.
Yeah, I'm talking the entire planet, everybody. And I think you'll and what will that look like as well? Let's discuss that if it did happen. But do you boys think we will get that in your lifetime?
I'll say yes, but I don't think it will come from the government.
Okay,
Chris, what do you think, Rich?
Well, I think it's about a year ago I said that it was going to be 3 to 5 years. And I've got to say, things haven't moved as quick as I thought they would. I was expecting them to be monitoring stuff a lot quicker. But saying that, I also think there's an argument that we'll never get complete disclosure in terms of will everybody on the planet be accepting that this might happen. given that after the war there were pockets of Japanese soldiers who were still defending parts of the Pacific, and they didn't think the war was ending. So will the whole of the planet accept it? Possibly not. So we have to be philosophical about that. That there might be large parts of communities that may never accept that, just literally because of the beliefs they hold, etc. Lee, you said something fantastic about the fact that the UFO community will do a flip, and it will be the people who believe that will be considered the ones that are in conspiracy.
Yeah, I think there's, especially if it comes from like a government outlet like what we're getting right now. I've never believed in UFOs less than when we have it on the CNN. The minute things like that turn up on news networks, I wonder why those machines want me to believe that. And I think that's the other thing with disclosure that isn't sort of took into account. We always take the government into account of things like this, but even just over the course of this week, you've got two separate elements going on where the news is full of Elon Musk's father getting his stepdaughter pregnant and having like 500,000 children or whatever he has. So you can't escape that from the media. In the meantime, you have videos circulating the internet of Hunter Biden weighing crack and complete fucking media silence. So it's not just about what happens or what can come out. It's about what gets filtered to us at the same time. We've clearly got a completely corrupt news media. So whatever we get told is going to get put through the prism of whatever they want us to see anyway. So that's why I think Rich is right. You're going to get sections of people that just won't accept it, because if they roll it out in the news tomorrow and say, yeah, we've been visited for hundreds of thousands of years, we don't know what they are, but they keep stealing us now and again and doing things to us, but we don't know what to do. I would not take this as the truth if it came to me through television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm inclined to believe. I think people are very cynical about what's being fed to them. Occasionally that's justified, occasionally it isn't. But there's something in the back of my mind that feels that this does not feel right in terms of how it's being done. And I can't put my finger on it. And part of that has Area 502 and his Who's Lou digging into that did sort of cast a little bit of doubt in my mind as to what's happening. I always thought that the TTSA thing was a bit strange, to do with the financial irregularities, and I don't see anything changing on that, particularly with the new way they're trying to greenwash everything. So as everything, it's like nailing jelly to a wall. I think that's the way of explaining it. Every time you try and hold on to something, it loses its it loses its substance, and very, very hard to pin facts down to what they actually are.
No, go on, Rava.
I was just gonna say, I kind of agree with you too about disclosure coming from the government. It's hard to trust them, and I think we need some real definitive proof if it is going to be accepted by people. It doesn't really seem like we're going to get that from the government. They have all the details are classified, right? And I'm skeptical that they even really know what's going on and have any secrets to really divulge to us. But I think I agree with you. If it's just the media or it's just the government telling us that aliens are real and UFOs are ET, people aren't going to buy it. But if it's a scientific community, if the Galileo project goes out and finds something that's really compelling and they're able to write papers and convince other scientists that UFOs are ET and they're seeing, undeniable evidence, and they're sharing that evidence with us. I think that's probably really the only scenario I can really envision where like everyone will kind of be able to, look at the evidence themselves and verify it and know the truth. I'm not certain that it will happen, right? Like I think the other explanation might be the scientists investigate it and they, are able to explain some things with atmospheric conditions or other prosaic explanations. And I think that's another possibility of disclosure happening. But I think in that case it's going to be like proving a negative, right? There is going to be a lot of people who won't accept that.
Rather, where do you sit with David Fravor? And also, do you think more pilots will come forward?
Yeah, I mean, David Fravor's case is really the only one that really defies any prosaic explanations. And I believe him. Like, I think his story, like, I don't think he's making things up. And I guess that, I'll caveat those prosaic explanations as, maybe it is a hologram or some crazy, US tech. It's hard to rule that stuff out. But there's definitely something that hasn't been explained in that account. As far as other pilots, we have people like Ryan Graves talk about seeing, objects in the sky out in the East Coast. It seems to me like a lot of those encounters are, I think it's very important for pilots to come out and report that sort of stuff, what they're seeing, those, gimbal type objects, the, cube within a sphere type stuff. But those really sound a lot more like drones to me than, something truly inexplicable. So yeah, I think that it's a big open question to like how many truly anomalous things like David Fravor experienced are out there, and how many pilots like that might come forward. I hope they do, but it's unclear, how many stories like that are out there.
I wanted GUFON on because he has some views on David Fravor that very much differ from mine. But from mine, today I re-listened to the Lax Friedman interview with David Fravor. As much as I really like Joe Rogan, I thought his interview was great. I loved Lax Friedman's interview because it put David Fravor in the pilot seat. You heard most of that interview was all about him as a pilot and him doing that job rather than the UFOs came into it. So it kind of like it gave that his story wings almost,
Well, yes, I mean, incredibly compelling story, right? It's pretty much what started the whole UFO modern movement, it seems like.
Yeah. Rich, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, really, that once again we're hanging on hearsay because while we have these grainy little videos, Go Fast, FLIR, etc. They and Gimbal, sorry, they could. There's no real. Once again, we're down to witness testimony rather than actual video evidence, because those videos are not real evidence of any particularly blistering performance, that Fravor actually alludes to. So it's very, very hard for you to. It's a narrative that's spun about these images rather than an image that you can look at and go, oh yeah, that's making huge changes of direction. That is traveling at enormous speeds. Mick West has done some really interesting work with building models that explain how the movement could look, and that the movement may not be as significant as people think. And I get that. I actually do get that, particularly with what they call the Go Fast, which could so much be the speed of the plane that's tracking the object, and the object might actually be fairly still. But without more definitive data, we really, I don't think it's I think it's very hard to believe what's being told to us. And not only that, they're starting to put these television programs out. I saw a television program where the guy that played Captain America was on with some people talking about the UFOs, and they talked about it in very prosaic terms and talking about drones all the time. And it always worries me a little bit when you have a celebrity on. It tells you, an unconnected celebrity, which tells you that they're trying to force public opinion down a certain direction. And that makes me uneasy as well a little bit. Why bring Captain America in to talk about UFO drones? And is this trying to shift the narrative down a more prosaic explanation?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, the whole development, almost every development is bizarre, right? In some respects, because if they did want to downplay the potential ET UFO, if the government's trying to downplay that, they've done a really bad job, because they kind of caused it to explode by taking it seriously and passing these laws that are kind of explicitly looking for advanced technology and stuff like that. So if they did want to downplay it as drones, why not just not do anything? I think that then no one would really be talking if there wasn't this kind of persistent government interest in the issue. And it's bizarre. I agree with you as far as the videos that they put out don't really show anything interesting, and I have little hope that we'll ever actually get to a resolution for what actually happened in that David Fravor Nimitz incident. It just seems like there's not enough evidence or data that was captured, but there is enough eyewitness testimony for me to think that something interesting happened and be a reason to be interested in the subject and try to learn more.
Robert, what would you say right now is the biggest thing for the people of the UFO community that is the biggest hope to get a disclosure?
Yeah, I would say, Galileo Project and UFOTech. I think that those, scientific expeditions, that, aren't bound by things like classification and, secret means and technologies. I think them finding something is really our best hope for proving that there is something truly anomalous and potentially ET out there.
So you think disclosure will be, we've found a planet with life on it, won't be them coming out and saying that they're visiting us?
Well, no, I think Galileo Project and UFOTech are looking for UFOs in our atmosphere, and there seems to be there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to suggest that there are at least weird stuff in the skies, right? And, be it drones, atmospheric stuff, or ETs. I think that there is enough evidence to suggest that there's an unknown out there. So when I think of disclosure, I kind of think of it as figuring out what that unknown is. And I think that the Galileo Project, looking in the sky with the renewed focus and kind of this new renewed previous to 2017, I don't think any scientists were really seriously searching for answers for anomalies in the skies. And now they are. And I think that if there is a there, we're on the course to nail it down and reach disclosure.
Yeah, that was my word there. I got my wires crossed with the James Webb Telescope for a second there.
I mean, that too is fascinating too. Can you imagine if they do find evidence of life somewhere else? It wouldn't be evidence of them visiting us, but it would definitely make people take that possibility a lot more seriously.
But also at the same time, if you find life through a telescope, that technically could be life that is thousands of years behind what we're seeing.
Mhm.
You know, through a telescope, because we see light that is thousands of years old.
And you know, probably the most realistic scenario for, you know, James Webb finding life is not only, you know, something way out there, you know, light years, thousands of light years away, but probably just like microbial life is what we'd be able to, you know, determine. So if we're, you know, are able to determine that there are microbes out there on other planets, you know, there's still going to be people who are reluctant to believe that there's intelligent life out there. But I think even verifying that there's microbial life out there would go a long way to a lot of people to bringing that possibility to the front of their minds and kind of, you know, having not shutting down the discussion as fast as, you know, some people do. People like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think that they might start coming around to the possibility of UFOs existing if, you know, were to find even microbial life somewhere out in the galaxy.
Do you find it strange that the James Webb Telescope, in its first year, doesn't have any plans to scan Tabby's star?
Does it not?
No. I asked somebody to check it out for me, and they came back and they said it's not on their list of projects. It's not to say that it won't be in the future, but it's not currently on their list.
I'm a bit.
For the audience, could you quickly just explain Tabby's star? That's the one with the Dyson's. Is that the Dyson sphere one?
Yeah. So this is a star that is fading and then coming back into light again, and it's happening. It's not a very particularly bright star, but it fades out and it comes back in, and this is not just a transition of a planet or something like that. It's fading out by sort of like 20-25% every time. And there's lots of theories. Some people are suggesting that it is a Dyson sphere, which is perhaps a technology that's trying to draw energy off the star. There are other people suggesting that it's just dust or swarms of comets going round, and there are other people that's saying that it could actually even be dust from mining that might be happening. So it's all up for discussion on this. It really is.
Do you ever find it strange how we always seem to almost go out of our way not to find interesting things? Like, so that seems to be like the first place if you were going to look, if you wanted to look for something. In the same way as when we see images of Mars, and you know, you'll get the occasional thing where like there'll be a light over a hill or what seems to be a spire or something like that, and instead of someone going, we should probably go over there and check whether that's a building or not, they go, yeah, there's that there, but we should go this way instead. Yeah, we always seem to go the other way from the interesting things.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is down to what the James Webb Telescope was actually set up to do, because it collects infrared light rather than sort of like normal visible light that we see. What it's trying to do is capture old light that has been redshifted. So for those that don't understand, as you travel a distance, light shifts from sort of like its visible spectrum always towards the red. So if you think about red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and you started like a rainbow, and red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, your light goes. So if you're seeing that much light, it shifts over that way. And that's where James Webb picks up more information. So it can pick up the older light from earlier on in the universe's history. And I think that's what they're after doing. But at the same time, it's picking up some fantastic imagery, and they should point it at Tabby Star.
Yeah. No, I just loaded up their website and was looking for the extrasolar planets that they're targeting in the first year, and yeah, I don't see Tabby Star, and I am kind of surprised about that. They kind of how they did their proposals was they have this science, the Space Telescope Science Institute. It kind of runs the whole thing, and all these scientists then for submitting proposals to this organization, and they chose the ones. The criteria was the proposals that would be most likely to change our knowledge of the universe. So they are trying to do some cool stuff, and they are looking at some cool stuff like the TRAPPIST planets and stuff like that. There's a number of planets that they're on their first year radar that might have life. And so, I'm surprised that Tabby Star didn't make that list, but hopefully we'll get that next year.
Absolutely, and TRAPPIST Star is probably one of the other good candidates. So yeah, it's worth a look.
It's just clouds. It's all clouds, birds, balloons.
If you find birds and balloons and TRAPPIST, that'll be awesome.
How you doing,
balloon
Rich?
fetish.
I'm doing good. I went to sign on. I mean, I fell asleep, no doubt about it, but I was going to be only a few minutes late. And I go to log in and it says, you don't have enough room to operate your PC of memory. I had 2.6 megabytes of space left.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
That's
So I just
So
sat here
much
for like the
porn.
last what was that?
So much porn.
No, there's none. That's the funny thing. I am not.
It's all them
no,
UFO.
no.
It's all that UFO footage that he's about to release to the world.
That's just because the dodgy sites Rich goes to. He had like 2.5 terabytes of just like Russian crypto mining bots on his computer. That's all it was.
So to bring you back up to speed, Rich,
I've been listening.
This disclosure in your lifetime. I know what you said when I first met you. When I first started listening to your channel, I think I listened to your channel a good 6 months before I actually approached you. So I think it's probably 4 years ago.
2019.
What do you think? What do you think now?
Yeah, 4 years ago. Yeah. No, there won't be any disclosure. Can't. It's too much for the world to handle. It's once you open up Pandora's box, you have to let everything out, and then everybody's going to question the government every move they make, which we already do, but now they have reason to. Proof they, I don't know about American people. I don't know how much dumber we could get in this country, but we're trying. We're trying to be the dumbest. Yeah, it depends, man. Are we going to have a false flag alien invasion with that New York PSA they put up for the nuclear, if a nuke goes off in the city? Did you see that?
Crazy, yes.
It's so weird. It's like an infomercial.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's really
And
strange.
you just
I've
tuck and
missed that.
roll.
Can you fill me
That's
in?
it.
What?
Can you fill me in? I've not seen that.
Can you play it, Ollie? Just for context.
I don't know.
Oh, no,
well,
you'll be fine to play.
Oh, I
because
played it.
It was news.
I played it.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was news. It was on TV.
Yeah, I know it was news.
The government PSA, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I just don't know if YouTube. I mean,
Just
somebody.
play it.
I'm gonna play it, but somebody got their channel, their video told off for talking about the bombing of the Georgia Guidestones. Can you imagine?
What?
Yeah.
But I talked about it.
I know, and
That's
I did.
another thing to talk about.
No, they probably were showing a video too long while they were talking, and they got shut off for a minute during the live stream.
What do you type in to find it?
What are you looking at? Type in New York, P as in Paul, S as in Sally, A as in Apple.
P as in Paul, S as in Sally.
A is an apple, the big apple. Should come
Right
right
throw
up.
nuke in there as a search term too.
True.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay.
Make sure you get the one that has just the commercial and not the news talking about it, because the first 3 or 4.
Do you want me
the
to
news.
pull this up?
Yeah, you can pull it up,
Ollie.
mate. Yeah. Just find the commercial one.
Okay.
But while you guys are looking for that is amazing that they would actually put a video like that up in this day and age. So what I was talking about last night is, well, it's kind of interesting how they want to make it easy for people in the government to report UAPs, right? So they've got the Galego Gallagher thing that they're going to put through, and I don't know if it'll help, but it's an interesting time that we're in because all along we've been listening to Lou and others talk about a threat, and then this false flag alien invasion was supposed to happen because whatever his name is, Von Braun, talked about it, how it's part of the Illuminati playbook, and that's coming up, but that should have happened before the pandemic. Anyway.
Rich, make it big. That's what she said.
Hey, ho. No. To the right.
Oh.
No. Oh, you
So there's been a
silly
nuclear
man.
attack. Don't ask me how or why. Just know that the big one has hit. Okay? So what do we
That's
do?
what she said.
There are 3 important steps that I want you to remember.
Immature, I am.
Step 1, get inside fast. You,
That's
your
what she
friends,
said.
your family, get inside. And no, staying in the car is not an option. You need to get into a building and move away from the windows. Step 2, stay inside. Shut all doors and windows. Have a basement? Head there. If you don't have one, get as far into the middle of the building as possible. If you were outside after the blast, get clean immediately. Remove and bag all outer clothing to keep radioactive dust or ash away from your body. Step 3, stay tuned. Follow media for more information. Don't forget to sign up for Notify NYC for official alerts and updates. And don't go outside until officials say it's safe. All right, you've got this.
So weird.
Oh! I have to remove. I went to remove it and remove rather than. That is the oddest video I have probably seen in the last.
That's the oddest video I've seen since Sesame Street was teaching kids how to make bug out bags.
Oh, I thought you were going to say which a different one then.
No, they did one which was like a was it like an earthquake preparedness one, and they had like Elmo making fucking bug out bags with kids. It was fucking weird.
I mean, to
Where's
bring that
GUFON
in.
gone?
GUFON?
Richie.
There.
Richie. Are you there?
What? I'm right
Why'd
here.
you call me stupid? Why'd you call me stupid?
Who did?
You did.
I never
Just
said
as we
stupid.
played it, you said stupid. You did. You want
Not
to replay that?
you. Not you. What are you talking about?
You said make it bigger, and I did, and you said no, stupid.
What?
I think he just meant the little square, but I think he was joking. To be fair,
Right.
Rich.
I never said stupid. Did I say stupid?
Yes, you did.
It wasn't to you, dude. So,
All right.
Well,
So you don't shoot your mouth
If
off.
it's anything, it's the YouTube UI designers because it is a little confusing.
I think it was just a joke.
it
Rich.
wasn't. I think I was calling the PSA thing stupid. It's stupid. I wasn't saying it to you. If I did, I'd look you in the face and saying you're stupid. You know me by now.
Yeah. It is stupid though. I don't understand. Well, I mean, why would the way that was presented as well? It's odd. Very, very odd. I don't get it. I don't get that. It seems a bit fear-mongering to me. And
Well, do you know what sounds? We've had a few generations since there's been a nuclear threat. Now, I don't think everybody here remembers what it was like back in the 70s and 80s when the Cold War was at its height. Have you seen sort of like we had a truly horrifying set of television adverts that used to be played all the time, about covering and getting out of a blast, and similar advice to here. So this is for a new generation for people that don't know what a nuclear threat is. And to be fair, that's what Vladimir Putin has been threatening.
I think there's a good chance as well, if even if there isn't some sort of like real like kinetic war that happens, sort of like a global kinetic war, you probably headed into a new Cold War anyway. You know, so my father and all our parents would have gone through the Cold War, you know, and had that in schools where people were told to hide under their desks in the case of explosions and stuff. So I suppose it could be looked at as just like that.
Jen, I think that's supposed to be a joke, that, and it's tickled me. Thank you for the super chat. Preparing for a tornado. Oh my God, not a nuclear attack. Because that's the thing. I mean, and a nuclear bomb hits, and it's just like, yeah, just brush yourself off. Get yourself inside. Get away from the windows. No. But
it's not as stupid as it sounds, mate. It's not as stupid as it sounds because it's the dust, isn't it, from an
oh no, I get that.
Explosion.
You know, once a nuke goes off, if it goes off in your vicinity, you're done.
Oh yeah, you're fucking toast. But there's like a big area, isn't there, outside of that, where essentially getting yourself inside somewhere where you haven't got like. Where you can have as little air coming into the place as possible without fucking suffocating yourself is pretty fucking valuable.
I just hope to God the planet never sees one again. That's my hopes. You know, all those tests and what have you. Don't drop one, people.
Yeah.
However, to bring it back on point with disclosure, we may get a video like that to tell us about aliens.
Well, that'd be wild.
I'm being serious. That's probably what we'll get. We'll probably get
wouldn't it be great
video
if it was the same woman that just had like a CGI'd inside of a spaceship behind her? She's like, so the big one's happened. You've been abducted. What now?
You know, there was a time when I used to think we will get evidence that everything that happened in Roswell, everything that's happened with everybody's sightings, people, abduction stories, it's all going to come together and it's all going to make sense. The more and more I do this, the more I seem to run away from that idea of it kind of never coming together. I mean, rather you're on UCR rather often, and would you say the conversation has shifted from what you were having 2 years ago, and your views on the channel?
I mean, to be honest, I think that 2 years ago I was a little bit more optimistic that we were going to get answers right from the government or things that would come out to kind of tie everything together. I am more skeptical that there even is one coherent answer. You talk about abductions and all the different aspects of it. It's very possible that there's 5 a dozen different explanations for the various types of reports, and maybe one of them is ET, but maybe a lot of them aren't. So I think it's just such a complex issue. I think that everyone's looking for the one explanation that will make everything make sense. I'm not too optimistic that even if we get disclosure that would explain all the abduction and all the weird stuff that have happened to some people. So it's just such a nebulous issue. It's really a hard one to really get to the bottom of.
Do you find that the people you've met along the way, that people's views have changed when it comes to the subject of ufology? The people and talk to in, I almost said the industry then, in the community.
I mean, I think that I think there is more skepticism. It's a little bit more persuasive. There's 2 years ago, Elizondo was kind of on a high horse. Everyone was kind of looking to him as the shining knight of disclosure. And he said he kind of made a lot of promises, right? Like he talked about there being one tool to be able to detect UAP out there, and that he was going to tell us about that in the coming months. That it wasn't even under NDA, and that never came to fruition. And there's his talks about these secret videos that he's seen. Now the IG report came out. It seems like there's maybe one or two other potentially interesting videos, but when you hear people like him talk about other things that have been now kind of debunked, the green pyramid issue or video and stuff like that, I think that a lot of his claims are a little bit less convincing now than they were 2 years ago to me, and I think to a lot of others in the air, in the space. And that's not to say that I don't think that there's nothing there. I still think that there's something interesting going on. I'm just more skeptical that the government has any of those answers, and that we'll get them from the government. I think that there's enough information out there that I think that should interest science, and that's where my hopes are laid these days.
Do you think that's enough to penetrate the mainstream, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to need more videos. We're going to need some more compelling evidence to really penetrate the mainstream and get normal people to take the issue seriously still. But I think it could happen. I'm optimistic that if there's something there, our scientists Abby Loeb and UAPX are on track to figure it out.
I think it's going to have to be a presentation or like a collaboration of people on a more trusted platform. It's that my first thoughts would go to like a Rogan type thing, because it's big enough to be like a mainstream platform, but holds more trust than I think probably any news network in the world. It's as far as the percentage of people that listen to that show that trust what they hear on it is probably much higher than the people that listen to like CNN trust what's coming through them. So
do you think that anything that in the public knowledge that we know about, if presented on Joe Rogan, would change minds?
I don't know if anything we've got now would change minds. I think if you had a new thing, because there was a talk, wasn't there? This was over a year ago, where Rogan had said on his show that he was told that there was going to be a high resolution photograph of one of the triangular crafts that was going to be released, and it last late sort of into the idea of being released, it got pulled. The idea that so if you had something like that, along with I always say his name slightly weird, but Michio Kaku, there you've got some guy that people are used to seeing on the televisions, talking about grounded, leveled subjects, and he's the one now turning around saying, well, the onus now is to prove that these things aren't aliens. So that if someone like that backing it up, I think might change minds.
Yeah, I think there's a risk of making those statements like Mitch Lukaku is making too early, right? Like he's making these really, in my mind, outlandish statements about the onus is on the government, on us, the skeptics, to prove that they're not ET, which I don't think we're there yet in the discussion. And I think that by him saying that, kind of getting the cart before the horse,
do you think that
probably turns people off?
Yeah, do you think that puts him more in the conspiracy theorist box than he used to be?
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I guess it kind of does. I don't think he's doing it to really play into conspiracy theories. It seems like he's trying to be a little bit provocative to kind of get on these shows and stuff, which I don't think does us any positive. I think that's a negative, really, in my book.
It's very soundbiting. You have to be careful about who delivers the message as well, because we can't rely on an appeal to authority.
No,
and
100%.
Michio Kaku is an authority. He's very well known, but at the same time, what is he really saying? He's not actually saying anything. All he's doing is just asking questions, which is what you and we're all doing. He's not doing anything bigger than that.
I do love the way Mitchie kind of breaks things down, though, to the average Joe like me, to make me kind of understand it.
Yeah, to tell me.
But I
like
think
I'm
he's
a
wrong
moron.
in his breakdown. So
Yeah, probably. I mean, realistically, the idea that these are a non-human life form should essentially be at the back of all possible outcomes. It's the least reasonable. No matter how possible it might be, it's the least reasonable explanation. The most reasonable explanation is that they're human-made.
yeah, that or maybe atmospheric, some other natural phenomenon that we don't quite know about yet, right?
Of Earth origin in one way or another. Yeah,
and I guess that's
most
the
probable.
question. Do you think that disclosure can come from a process of elimination? Being able to eliminate all the human sources and other sources, and then what's left is aliens. I think that might start pointing us there, but I don't think that will be enough.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think mainstream it would have to be a Roswell incident that happened again that didn't get retracted. That's what you need for mainstream coverage, isn't it? Like one of these crashed. We've got bodies. We've got a ship. We're going to pull the cover off and show you everything. Yeah,
that or something like the Phoenix Lights happening in today's age, right? Like a mass sighting of some sort.
I mean, I remember the Phoenix Lights happening. I remember even in the UK, it was on the news, like this thing that happened. And then even back then, when the news cycle wasn't as fast as it is today, it just came and went, gone. It still baffles me. I mean, even though that it hasn't matured in the way we thought it would do, but at a time where everybody was told to be locked in the houses, where we all had nothing to do apart from being on the internet, we basically had disclosure, in the way of the New York Times article, and everyone went, "Oh, aliens might be real." Oh well, and then that was it. It was just gone.
That was 2017. That was way before.
Oh, sorry. What was the one we were in lockdown?
You're talking about the report, aren't you?
Yeah. No. The report came out, but there was another thing came out, wasn't there?
Yeah, they kind of doubled down that those videos were real from the government. The Pentagon, confirmed that. But I mean, I agree with you. In 2017, I read that article, and then like every day for a couple of months, I was, scouring the papers, being like, where the hell is the follow-up? Mm-hmm. Where, they talk about recovered alloys and that, and then you'd think that they'd be, calling everyone they could, and that'd be, continuous following up reporting. But the next big article was in like 2019, and that didn't have any more information.
It was one of the lines where it was saying that these things are invading our airspace with impunity, and you just think, right, well, and nobody cares. That seems like a thing.
Well, yeah, and whether you're a skeptic or a believer, right? Like, if it's a drone, invading our airspace with impunity, it's maybe even a bigger issue than aliens, right?
See, I don't, and Rich has to. He's just messaging me. He said something's come up. He has to scoot out. But see, I have this back and forth with him with the whole China thing, and them being maybe a drone from China. I personally do not buy that. I don't think what these pilots saw was a drone from another country.
Well, I mean, are you talking specifically about the Nimitz incident? Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. But when you talk about the 2019 incident over the Roosevelt carrier, I think those are probably drones, right? And when you talk about the gimbal and what Ryan Graves has been seeing and his airmen have been seeing, across the Atlantic, those kind of seem like drones to me too. They're not doing anything, too crazy.
I'm specifically talking about the Tic Tac. I don't think that's a drone. I don't think what they saw in 2004 was a drone.
I think it would have to be like
one of our drones, anyway.
I think it would have to be like nukes. If if the Tic Tac's a human-made vehicle, and that's we'll just say for a minute, it's not atmospheric phenomena. It's not that it's that's weird. What's happened to my light?
You're like me.
Well, yeah, we'll just go off the thing that it's definitely some sort of man-made craft. If someone's made it, everybody's made one. Because if China, Russia, or the US had that sort of technology, you could deploy a fleet in every key area you want to attack. You could do a Independence Day style invasion of other countries, and there'd be nothing they could do about it. So the only reason we're not doing that is if every other country has them. So just like nukes, where you have the mutually assured destruction thing, we're not using nukes on other people because they'll nuke us. Maybe if Tic Tacs are man-made, we're not using Tic Tacs on other people because maybe other people are going to use Tic Tacs on us, and then we have a Star Wars battle. So that's why I think that the idea of them being a countries doesn't work with me, especially right now when you see what's going on in the Ukraine with Russia. I feel if there was a easier non-nuclear military conclusion that could be done there, either on Russia's side or on Ukrainian allies' side, to end that feud, I feel it would have been ended.
Do you when it comes to the Tic Tac, Lee, what do you think of the Tic Tac? Do you think that what Fravor saw was physical, or like Rich UFOTech said could possibly be? What did you say it could be, Rich? Project plasmas.
Yeah, countermeasures, some kind of projected directed energy or laser-induced plasma,
Which the pilot wouldn't be able to tell the difference between. Well, they wouldn't know, would they? Almost like a hologram.
Yeah, it depends, and they would show on radar as well, because there would be a heat signature, because it would be hot, and some laser-induced plasmas actually show on radar as well. So it's possible.
What do you make? Do you think it was physical, Lee? Do you think that?
What I think, without any evidence to back it up, what I think it is, I think it's complete bullshit. I think it's complete bullshit, and I think it's.
Do you think Fravor's an actor?
I think this whole situation is building us up to something not real, something that's going to be pushed on us, like certain events over the past 2 years, headed to, and it's another step in the plan of the Great Reset, in my eyes, without anything to back it up with.
You kind of think about the Project Bluebeam kind of fake alien invasion kind of stuff.
Even if it's not just that, because the other thought I had with it was, it might just be another disinformation campaign. It's something to get more people talking about something else, which isn't this global march towards some sort of technocratic communism that we seem to be marching our way into. Ever, or not even marching our way into, like ever quickly sort of sleepwalking towards. So it could just be something to entertain the idiots while we wake up one day and we go, oh, we can't say that anymore because it will affect our social credit score.
Yeah, personally, I don't know if I really see that kind of big conspiracy happening. But I do think that there might be some truth into the idea of the fake alien invasion. I don't think that something like that would be necessarily targeting American citizens. But there has been a lot of unclassified research by the military about projecting sounds into people's ears. Having people hear the voice of God, be able to say things to them that only they can hear, to kind of drive them, make them think something extraordinary is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see it being a military strategy where if you did have the ability to create TikTok tac holograms to deploy that out on the battlefield to really, scare the hell out of people and make them think that's, something crazy is going to happen to win some sort of war. And I think if you did have that sort of technology, you probably would want to keep it very secret. And because if you deploy it once, the cat's kind of out of the bag. It's kind of a one-time use thing because people will quickly find out that it's not real. So I think that is a plausible scenario for me.
Well, I mean, that technology now is what, and thank you. I nearly called you Ian Stu Little, but I am Stu Little. Thank you for the support, my friend. The super sticker, which is a hippo, another hippo, and another 3 hippos, hungry hippos. Love that game. I genuinely bring it in. Rather, I honestly think that's 2004. So we're talking nearly 20 years ago now?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Nearly 20 years ago. But that was kept under wraps. I got wind of the Tic Tac before, and I'm sure some of you guys may have got wind of it before it even was a thing.
No,
You see,
I didn't know until it was on Rogan. Essentially, that was when I first started hearing about this thing.
It was Osvaldo Franco that put me onto it and said it's been out a while, but this is going to start to be a thing. And the footage was there. I can't remember the channel. It came on some weird internet site.
Above Top Secret, I think, right?
No, it wasn't that one. It was some website. I can't remember the name of it. It had a weird name, like Strange something. It originally came on some website. I didn't see it on the website, but I saw it when it was put onto YouTube.
Isn't
Maybe
that Corbell's website Strange something? Isn't that his own website?
I'm not sure, but
because I think that might be it. I think because that's ringing that's jogging memory bells that he had that on his website before it was like put out as like an official leak, and because he had to come out and say that he hadn't had it for so long. There was something to do with the year. He'd altered the year on the posting or something like that. There was some sort of fuckery with it, as you can imagine with Mr. Corbell.
But here's the thing: it's been nearly 20 years, and that technology, even back, now that technology is crazy. From what they explain, I'm not talking about the footage, because the footage for me is a little bit like, oh yeah, it does seem to shoot off quite fast, but I'm no guy behind I don't understand the tech of that screen, I don't understand the speeds and what have you. So for the average Joe, to me, it just looks a little bit like, well, it's just a blob on a screen that just shoots off.
Yeah.
But everybody seems to be making a song and dance about it. So it's interesting. But the
reason people are making a song and dance of it because we're being told to.
Yeah, and also people get views on YouTube. Yeah. But the actual accounts of the pilot explaining what they saw back in 2004, right now, that's when they're explaining it. That it never came out to light then. Nobody explained it back then. But now, even now, that technology is crazy. And if it had a human body inside that, it would be sludge.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be nothing left of a pilot in that craft. Nothing. And I will say that from what I've listened to of Fravor, I trust what he says. The way he explains it, and forget if you've watched him on Joe Rogan, go watch him on Lax Friedman and listen to him speaking as an actual pilot. I love Joe. I know you watch the show. I love you to pieces, but Lax kind of got the pilot out of him first.
Mm-hmm. That was his best interview.
It was amazing. I think it's right up there with. Is it his number one interview with views wise? But it made me think about that person differently. I've listened to it twice. I listened to it again today on the way to work and on the way home. I've not finished listening to the whole thing again, but I just thought it brings that story to life. It really does. And for that to be just an actor, or
Do you think it's weird how full of wonder he is about it? Whenever he speaks about it, it's like he's wide-eyed.
you do this to me
open-mouthed.
all the time, Lee. I trusted the man, and now you're gonna
No.
just knock me off.
Well, that makes
like-
me trust him more. That,
No,
that,
no,
that
no.
look of,
No, because if you think about it, like whenever he talks about it, it's wide-eyed, like open mouth, like you've just showed a 5-year-old a magic trick. For somebody that's a pilot, a fighter pilot, knows the peak of US, like at least aerial combat, yeah. I feel that if you all of a sudden realized that someone had craft that was so far superior to yours, I don't know if you'd be like, oh my God, that's fucking amazing. You'd be like, this is a real fucking problem and we need to sort this now because they're going to fuck us.
yeah, that that's an interesting point. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any fear that from him that, you know, these things are going to be used against us.
I mean, you
But
hear people that have, I know we have like the people that have sightings and stuff like that and like really close encounters. It sticks with people. You know, like people are like if you think of the amount of people that have had like UFO encounters where they've just had this one thing and it's essentially consumed their lives because they've had this glimpse into the unknown and then the unknown's fucked off and left them behind. And you see people where I think they've probably been better off without this encounter. But Fraber's really excited about it. He's like, oh, isn't this amazing? I just don't. It doesn't sit well with me for a military guy to be like that. Like you've just took him to watch David Copperfield walk through the Great Wall of China.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, and if it starts to bring more pilots out of the woodwork,
has it though?
Well,
no.
The interesting thing about this is that okay, it could bring more pilots out in the woodwork, but then you have somebody like Mick West jumping on them and at times trying to pull them apart. In terms of, I think he's really put Alex Dietrich's testimony against Fraber's because Fraber was saying he was engaged with it for 10 minutes. Dietrich was saying it was just good a few seconds.
But that's interesting, though. And yeah. but that's Mick West is doing good work. Then, if that's the case, if you've got because that's the lady which was Fraber's co-pilot, yeah,
in a different jet.
Yeah. Oh, right. It was a different jet.
Wasn't
not the same one.
Yeah.
If you've got two
don't worry about it, Lee. I thought that'd start off with as well up until a few months ago.
If you've got two conflicting reports about the same event, then it's right for West to pull it up. You could argue, I know lots of people will probably fucking hate me for this, especially people in the UFO community. You could argue that Mick West is the best ufologist in the world right now because he's the only one that's actually critical about it. Mm-hmm. He's the one that could break it. He's the one. You know, if something comes out and he's the one that turns around and said, "I've no explanation for this. This is beyond explanation," then people would take notice.
And he's the only one that solved cases that governments couldn't solve, right? He solved that Chilean case. He solved, the pyramid case, that the UAP task force couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that, pointing out those discrepancies, and he's not really just pointing them out, he's trying to resolve them, right? And I think that he's trying to do it in a non-rude, respectful manner. I think that he gets a lot of crap from the UFO community because I think there is a lot of people who will take what Mick West says and kind of his implications and his debunking and use that to kind of troll people, right? To
Yeah.
be assholes to people because of, oh, Mick West proved you wrong, ha ha ha, which I think we should be condemned. We shouldn't be doing that. But the simple fact of pointing out inconsistencies and trying to get to a resolution, I don't think anyone does it better than Mick.
I don't think anyone else engages with people as much as he does either. I sometimes I don't understand how he's got the energy to do that. With what he gets back from it.
Well, and I think he is generally fascinated by these issues, which I don't think he'd be fascinated if he thought it was all total bogus and there wasn't any possibility of maybe finding something cool someday.
You're on mute, Ollie.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. The thing is, it's because I was typing, and I don't like to make little clicks. I would just, and by the way, Rich, just come back on. Rich, you you and Rich, I think it was just like a misunderstanding. I understand though why you said. Oh, do you think he was going stupid? I have no idea. I didn't even hear that bit, to be honest with you. I was just literally enthralled in the nuclear bomb video.
But someone's going backseat driving when you're trying to find a UI control. I don't think he meant any actual malice with that.
But at the end of the day, the whole thing with these pieces of footage that we keep getting, I say keep getting. We're not getting. Corbell's not dropped anymore for a while. Jeremy, you need to sort that out. They're just tiny little videos that we get, and when you go, I'm going to go back to the TikTok video again, the original one from 2004. Loads of people, and a few people that one investor that I know very well said that there was more footage to that. Fravor said there was no more footage to that. That is all they had. There were no Men in Black that went in and took that footage. There was no conspiracy. There was nothing, and it was just years later it came out. And he saw it on a website. So I think my question is, and I think it might have been you, Rich UFOTech, that said this. The government may possibly know more in the know than we are when it comes to this subject. And when everybody says that things have been hidden from us, maybe they're not being hidden from us. Maybe they are absolutely clueless when it comes to this subject.
Do you know what? If everybody in the world should want conspiracy theories to be true, because if there isn't overarching conspiracies, that means government is completely fucking useless. They are completely inept. If there isn't some sort of conspiracies behind the scenes, because like on the surface, it doesn't look right. It looks like chaos. So you at least hope it's planned chaos. So if they don't know, then I think we're all fucked, to be perfectly honest.
I think there's much more evidence for government ineptitude than there is government conspiracies.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. I think there's probably people trying to pull strings in the background that are powerful. You get groups of people that are powerful that get together, but you're always going to have different people pulling in different directions to try and get power. And this is where I think you'll find that's where we'll end up getting traction with this subject, is if it benefits someone during an election cycle or something like that.
Or if this stuff is real, right? If there's these Tic Tacs are possible to make craft like that, you'd think a private company would try to crack that riddle and bring infinite energy to us and collect all the money in the world.
Well, that's the other thing with private companies that get me. If let's say that this is some sort of black project military vehicle, chances are, if it is black project stuff, that's gonna, in amongst the sort of the engineering circles, even if it doesn't like break out into the mainstream, there's gonna be whispers about things people have. I know people involved in Formula One, for instance. And if you see the, when you see like videos of the Formula One drivers in the simulators when they're getting ready, those simulators are mock simulators. And I've been told that the one of the teams actually has like a large aircraft hangar where the drivers sit in like a little pod, which would be a tic tac, and it's suspended 4 ways, and the engines on each side of the suspension know the track. So when the driver throws it into the corner, it can create up to 3G on the driver inside the pod, so they can sim the circuit.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah,
I've
that's
gotta
it.
have a
But
go on that.
but these are like these are genuine, like top secret. You have to sign NDAs to go and look at them. But information about these things dribble out between drivers, then engineers, and then you end up with an idiot in the Isle of Man that finds out about them as well. That would happen with this technology. So why would people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos be pumping millions into solid fuel rockets if they thought there was a better technology out there that just wasn't out there?
That frustrates me as well, mate. That
You just
that's
wouldn't do it.
I once tweeted Elon Musk and asked him why.
I'd love to know what he thinks about this. And I'm not even a big Musk like apostate by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, I love him.
But if you've got you're talking about an insanely connected person. So he knows stuff. He knows stuff that politicians don't know.
He does, mate. Speaking of people in the know, rather or rich, Moonlich, thank you so much for the support there. But I am no ufologist or a UFO researcher. I just like to have people on the channel talking about UFOs. Ollie, tell us what Spain's UFO UAP situation is. Boys, are you aware of the Spain UFO UAP situation? Because I'm certainly not.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any new events over there.
Moonlich, you know what? I'm gonna look at that though tomorrow for you, my friend.
Well, Moonlich, why don't you tell us what the situation is? Right in the chat.
Maybe do a show on it. Or come on the show, Moonlich. Yeah, we'll get you on next week. The Spain UFO. Well, why not? It is one world. These little things are going to be all over the place. Jennifer, thank you. Nick can only debunk physical. I can't say that word. Phenomena, not personal experience. That is very true.
But personal experience means nothing as far as evidence goes. It's the.
I think what she's saying though, that he can debunk all this stuff that he's seeing, but he can never debunk somebody's personal experience when it comes to the phenomena.
But in the same way as if you're a person, I know Jennifer said it in the chat before about her experiences. I'm not belittling those by any stretch of the imagination. But you also can't prove them.
This is true. This is
true.
That's
the thing.
Anybody that tells a story about a situation, you with the UFO, Lee.
I've seen stuff in the sky. I can't prove it. I've got a strange picture that looks like a glowing worm in the sky. But I mean, what the fuck's that? Is it me just taking a bad photograph of something? I don't know what it was. I don't know why when I took a picture of this thing, it ended up being this thing that was moving across the sky strangely. But yeah, I mean that's my experience, but it doesn't fucking mean anything, does it? Really?
I will say this though, and what we were speaking about on your show last night when it comes to Tom DeLonge. So I've gone back and forth a lot with Tom DeLonge. I would like to hear your thoughts on TTSA as well, but and in general, and actually Tom DeLonge as the man. But I listened to a podcast with him the other day that is, I think, just come out. If I can find it, I will put the link in the actual description of this video. It was actually a fascinating podcast. If he'd have been like that, and Dave was right by saying this, if Tom DeLonge If they'd done an interview like that on Joe Rogan, I think he'd have got a lot of respect because he spoke about this phenomenon, the whole thing, as he thinks everything is linked, all of it, to the paranormal. That the UFOs, whatever they are, is linked to the paranormal. And rather, you seem like a man that likes, the nuts and bolts, the hard evidence. Where are your thoughts with that? Because this is a guy that, as much as some people may want to hate on Tom DeLonge for and say the guy has done nothing but tried to get a load of people to invest in a company that is just full of promises, but no, they're not going to give you anything at the end of it. But I want to know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still remember, watching Tom DeLonge's interview kind of before this 2017 stuff happened, and the people were posting on the internet
real
saying,
bad one.
yeah, like God, he looks like he's on cocaine. He's just rambling, and seems like had a psychotic break. But then the article came out in New York Times, and it kind of validated a lot of what Tom DeLonge was saying in that kind of crazy interview. So I mean, I think that he's definitely has been talking to some influential people behind the scenes, and probably does have some insider information. I don't know if all that insider information is correct. I think that Tom DeLonge probably has a propensity for believing stuff that might not be true. But I don't really think that he's being deceptive. I think he's a true believer. I don't think he's trying to pull one over or fool anyone. And when it comes to the paranormal aspect of it, I think that is a very real possibility that people have to explore. And kind of when I hear paranormal aspect, my brain kind of goes to the whole interdimensional aspect of things. And I mean, there's science behind the possibilities of there being extra dimensions. String theory talks about 11 dimensions, little tiny dimensions. But yeah, I mean, if there are extra dimensions, then gosh, that really opens up a whole bag of worms. I love the theory on one hand because it could potentially explain everything as far as UFOs and even religions and all sorts of stuff, right? But I also hate the theory because if it's true, it means that we're never really going to be able to know the answer, right? If these are interdimensional entities that are, playing with us, they likely view our world as like a choose your own adventure book. If there's another dimension independent of time, our timeline might not really be a thing for them. They could probably look backwards and forwards in all the timelines and manipulate us to do their bidding or think whatever they want us to think. So if that's the case, I don't think that we'll ever figure it out unless they want us to figure it out. So I kind of hope that that's not the case, because I want some answers.
Well, the other one I don't think gets talked about enough is the idea that these could have been earthly origin of like forever. We've just been sharing the planet with something that's more advanced than us.
Yeah, the crypto-terrestrials.
Yeah, there was I forgot what the word of it was. I only found out about it like this week. There was another like hominid that had a larger brain than us, and I think it worked out like the size brain they had. Essentially, the average IQ of these things could have been like the stupid ones would have been Einstein, and it starts there and goes up. And we shared the Earth with these things like 10,000 years ago, or something like that. Like I said, I forgot what the name of them are, but you just think, well, what if they matured quicker than us? What if they maybe they were around longer than us and managed to get technology and just decided to live somewhere else? It's maybe this is why we see these things around the sea all the time. Maybe we have a separate species that's highly advanced, that's been here maybe longer, or just was more smarter. And that's what we're seeing. It would make sense why if these things lived on the Earth and it was their home too, that they keep bombing around now and again and disarming our nukes. It would make sense why they wouldn't want nuclear war.
Yeah, that definitely we kind of or at least I do, and a lot of people kind of come from the assumption that if there are other civilizations, they'd kind of follow the same technological path that we had. The stone tools, and then understanding gravity and kind of working the same progression that we did. But we're a sample size of one. We have no idea what the realm of technology possibilities are out there. And maybe a previous civilization went down a different path, and that path led to underwater crazy capabilities, or stealth abilities, or being able to exploit other dimensions. Who knows? I think that whole possibility is an interesting one, and definitely something you can't really rule out very easily.
Yeah, and an interesting story about people being out at sea. A friend of mine, he left the military to do private security work, and he ended up doing private security work on like oil tankers and stuff out in Sri Lanka and stuff, protecting them from pirates. And I think it was the time, because he was on the biggest oil ship in the world at one point. He was stationed. I think it might be in this one, when he sees that they're out in like deep sea, where you can't see anything for miles. And he was saying, he said, out in like sort of international waters where you should technically be able to go, he said there's massive no-go areas. He said you won't see anything for miles. You're just abo on your own, completely in the, like, with just water around you. But they know that they have to skirt around these certain areas. And he said, I've always found it really weird why we can't just sail through them. He said, because we're going the long way around. We're going the long way around these large patches of open water to stay on the shipping lanes, which I don't get me wrong, that could be where it's put out for is just staying off other shipping lanes. But the way he put it to me was that just vessels aren't supposed to sail through those waters.
That's interesting. I'm gonna take note of that to research. So, I mean, there could be a lot of possibilities of that, right? Maybe that's where they've done nuclear testing, or there's some other horrible things in the water there that are man-made. But that definitely is worth digging into.
I'm going to ask my dad about that, Lee, because as you know, I've spoken about it many times. My dad was in the Merchant Navy, and I wonder if that is as much of a thing as you say it is. I think it is. Though I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you, Moonlich. Ollie points out Tom has matured. I do think the man's matured, but I think anybody in this field has to mature. I've matured. I started out doing little pareidolia stuff, but I want to ask this. Rather, you guys on UCR have had Brandon Fugel on, if that's how you pronounce his surname.
Yeah.
I had a guy who's done a lot of work around Skinwalker. It's a great show. People go watch it. A couple of weeks ago. There seems to be a man that's standing out on that show more than anybody, and that is Travis. What are your feelings on that man?
Yeah, that's a bag of worms. I mean, he's undoubtedly a smart guy, right? He has multiple PhDs, master degrees. He's a kind of a literal rocket scientist.
Very clever man.
So yeah, I mean, I think that I listen when he has something to say. It's confusing to me. Like I don't like what his persona on the Skinwalker Ranch show seems kind of like he's hamming things up for the TV, kind of, putting out a little bit of an act, right? Which I'd be totally fine with, if that's that, if you just kind of, say that, be like, yeah, I'm, we sensationalize things on the show and I'm kind of, playing things up. but they're not saying that. Brandon Fugel is kind of saying, we're presenting real science on this show. Look to the shows to see the real science that we're doing. And so you got to kind of ask, is that Travis's real kind of position when he talks about things on Skinwalker Ranch? Like he says that, the most compelling UFOs that he's seen were on Skinwalker Ranch. And, when you know about his, duties at the UAP task force, if you take him at his word there, that kind of makes me think that they're not seeing anything really interesting in the government. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's smart. I don't really have that big of a problem of him, being in the government analyzing things. But I do think that it is somewhat problematic when you have someone that's publicly showing, a very clear bias and showing a propensity to jump to conclusions that the evidence doesn't necessarily support, publicly. Yeah, I think that, I think I've said this before, like, it seems like he's kind of the molder in the UAP task force. And I hope that we have a Scully there too, to kind of, keep him grounded, keep people like that grounded. But I do think he has something to add. I think we need a Mulder in there too.
I know that you guys have done some reviews of the episodes on UCR. I will tell you, I think Lee thinks the show's a pile of shit.
I'm skeptical of anything that's on the History Channel.
Fair.
but also I'm going to tell you, I made it through the first season and couldn't watch any more.
I did the same thing. I'm going to start watching it again.
I'm going to pick it back up, and I'm not saying that these guys are pulling the wool over anybody's eyes at all, because
they're trying to get another season every season, though. That's my issue.
Yeah, that's
or they really want to believe.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I do think there probably is certain places that, whether it's haunted, I don't know what haunted is, whether it's ghosts, whether the veil is thin or whatever. I think there's something about that place. I spoke to people that know that area, but it's the whole Unitar Basin. It's not. I don't think it's just Skinwalker from the people that I've spoke to quite recently about that. I just, is this Travis, is he going to be the new Lou?
Yeah, it'd be interesting if he's, makes himself as accessible as Lou has, right? I think that was one of the most interesting parts about Lou Elizondo, is that he would, talk to, channels like, the Unidentified Celebrity Review and pretty much any channel that asked him.
It seems a great introduction to get, because he's a likable guy.
Yeah.
You watch him, he just seems like a really nice guy that you'd like to go to a barbecue with.
Are you talking about Travis now, or?
Yeah, Travis.
Yeah.
Maybe Lou. I'll go to a barbecue.
Well, I mean, they're both charismatic people, right? Like you talk to them and you like them. They're definitely charismatic, and I would love Travis to talk on podcasts and take some tough questions. I don't see being the next Lou as necessarily a negative thing, right? If he's giving us interesting information, I'm all for it.
You guys haven't had Travis on yet, have you?
No, and I haven't really seen him do much interviews. I know he did the that UFO podcast recently, but I think that's about the only one that I've really seen him on. I might have, maybe I'm missing him, but
I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys could get him on and ask him the difficult questions, because you had Brandon on.
Yeah, I mean, Lou does most of the booking for the show. I'm sure he's probably tried to ask him, but yeah.
But you're like a team, just like my guys here. It's one big team, and I think you make impressions on people, and people generally feel comfortable on that show to go and speak. But I want to know what I want to know what's going on with that guy. You know, there's something there. I feel he's in it for the long haul, and I don't think it's just Skinwalker. I have a feeling he's going to break off into different things in this field.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's a true believer, right? Like he
Yeah.
has seen things that have convinced him. I think that's and talk about being the new Lou. I think the same thing with Lou. I think that they saw stuff that convinced them that these possibilities are real. I think the question is whether if we saw those same things, if we would be similarly convinced or not. And I'm kind of lean towards we probably wouldn't be that convinced, but God, I'd love to see for myself and find out.
I think it's not going to be up for a couple of weeks. Actually, the podcast we recorded last night, where Dave, who's on my show with Ollie, he's very much involved in that sort of world that Lou's involved in, and he looks at Lou through a slightly different lens, and his lens of looking at Lou is that he is he's the guy that will say things that maybe he doesn't believe because he believes he's doing right for his country. As in that sort of military capacity, I'm going to say what I'm supposed to say because I think I'm doing best for God and country type thing. That's the feeling I get from Lou. If that means he's telling the truth, then that it very well could be, but it also could be that he is. He's been put in place to steer the narrative in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, Lou, Elizondo, he's made it clear, said it explicitly that he's a patriot over being a UFO disclosure guy. So yeah, I think you're right on the money there. I think that if there is someone pulling the strings and he is kind of doing a public perception mission, I still think it's an open question on whether if this is some sort of slow disclosure role that he's trying to maybe that's his mission, is to actually disclose the truth. Maybe the mission is to cover up the truth. It's it's so confusing.
When you've spoke to Lou, because when I've watched interviews with him, he's really good at controlling the conversation. He's a really good talker. Have you ever found yourself where you've started speaking about something and then a few minutes later have passed and you've gone, how the fuck did we end up here? Because we've ended up here and what I asked has not been answered or addressed.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I started talking about sock puppet accounts and he asked if my mother was a prostitute, I think that was a clear example of him being able to kind of control the conversation and shut it down. Like he is masterful of that. And,
yeah,
and
that takes
like,
training. That sort of thing, that takes you. I don't think you learn that by accident.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's I don't want to say. I mean, almost master manipulator, right? Like he's a counterintelligent guy. He's very good at what he does, and I mean, I don't know if that's. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, even.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it's something that unless you. Like, I mean, we talk for a hobby. How weird is that? Yeah, we sit and talk for hours with people about things. We talk for a hobby, and
about aliens.
Yeah. But I've noticed from doing the Musty Audio, I've done. I think that's on like nearly 400 episodes of Musty Audio now, and then I've done what I've been doing with Ollie, and I've only slowly realized over the past year or so that when you speak to people that don't speak as a hobby, it's really easy to talk to people, and it's really easy to kind of know what you should say next to steer a conversation the way you want it to go. And that's just me doing this as a hobby. So for someone like Lou, that isn't doing he's not, he isn't like an experienced podcaster or an experienced like interviewer. So there has to be some sort of training involved to get those skills up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not like a military background guy or have that much
Oh,
insight into the
By
military.
the way,
But
I'm not trying to get you to land Lou in it by any stretch of the imagination. I just find it interesting because you've spoke to him. Yeah.
well, yeah, no, and I think that you're
Yeah.
totally right. Like, I think that my understanding of like the counterintelligence role is that you're out there talking to assets, right? You're talking to people in the field, trying to get them to turn and give secrets and
Do you
tell
ever
things
feel
that
like you
they
might
might
be an
not want to
asset?
tell you.
Do you ever feel like you might be an asset?
That I personally,
Yeah, on the show.
well, I mean, I think that Luke is definitely using shows like UCR and other shows to advance, what he's doing. I I don't want to get into too much about weird Lou conspiracy stuff, but I think
of
that
course.
the people that he talks to I think he has close relations to a lot of people on Twitter that I think that are closer to that kind of being used as an asset than people like me. I think there's a lot of kind of influential people who Lou Elizondo is really kind of plugged into, and I think that he's kind of steering a lot of these conversations that are happening.
I found it really interesting the other day. Had either of you listened to the Lex Friedman podcast when he had Joe Rogan on as a guest, maybe a week or two ago?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, very
and
good.
they were talking about how whether Joe had anyone on his show that he thought was like secretly CIA or KGB, and he's like, yeah, he said, I've got my suspicions of people that have been on that I think are connected and that are there to kind of steer things in their way. It only makes sense, and it obviously makes sense on a platform like that. But with social media being so huge, if you've got like bot accounts on Twitter, for instance, it's easy to do it on Twitter because you can make a profile, you can stick a picture on it, and you can throw these things out and get them to cause all the aggravation you want them to do. But that's in a text format. You can't do that on video. So with YouTube being such a huge platform, it's arguably the biggest platform, then you would need to have physical people doing the job of what you want bots to do on Twitter. So it only makes sense that these guys would be sprinkled about, and they would be on shows from, I don't know, massive shows like Lou Later, for instance, and for guests he has on, if there's certain things that want to be push technology, to smaller shows like this. It only makes sense that there would be people to infiltrate the various corners of YouTube as well.
Yeah, I find the idea that there's actually people who are getting their paycheck from the CIA kind of infiltrating and appearing on podcasts maybe a bit of a stretch. Like, I think potentially the more likely scenario might be just people in the government, people like Lou, kind of telling people information that kind of has them act in their own interest, right? Like when there are people like Lou Elizondo or other people in the government that are talk to you and give you information that they say is kind of only giving this to you or oh, you're on the right track, this is very important stuff that you're doing. I think that it's pretty easy to kind of make someone into a little bit of a unwitting agent and perpetuate the things that they want them to perpetuate without really being like an explicit agent.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it, and I don't get me wrong. This I'm not saying this is like a military thing or anything like that, but I found it dead weird, and I only realized that these things can definitely happen to people. Where over the last say year to 15 months, yeah, I've on like the small platform I've built for myself, I've been quite outspoken about what's gone on over the last 2 years to the point where my YouTube channel is basically fucking non-existent now. We should probably stick to podcasts. It seems to be a little bit more Wild West. And
on that note, Lee, quickly, Jen, I appreciate that. We'll get you on for that show, but we're gonna have to talk about that prior to having the channel, because that will get my channel shut down.
What?
Doesn't matter. Carry on, Lee. I just wanted to address Jen and just say can't speak about that. It'll get me fucked.
Yeah. I've had now. I think it may probably happens like maybe twice a month, where there will be like brand new, fresh accounts that will start interacting and talking to me. And when you go into the profile, there's like no followers, following just me. Account made yesterday, and it's always provocative. So yeah, I've sent sent them through to Ollie saying, "Oh, look at this today," and I think that must be happening with loads of people. You know, I think there's because when you think about it, if you were to employ, especially on the Twitter front, if you were to employ one person, that one person could be creating accounts and interfering with hundreds of people during the day. You would get value for money.
Would.
Yeah, yeah. I struggle to know. Like, I wonder. Yeah, if that is true, I wonder what kind of narrative they're trying to push. For one, and I think that there are a lot of.
I think it might just be to create chaos. To be perfectly honest, just to
Yeah.
sow discontent to create arguments. They do it with the wrong person, because when it happens to me, I just take it as a massive ego boost. I love it. Makes me feel special for a second.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there could be people creating fake accounts and kind of trying to create chaos that aren't even government assets necessarily.
Yes,
They're,
absolutely.
Very, very sure of their beliefs and really want others to feel passionate and feel the need to create a bunch of different accounts to try to shut people down or boost up their own messages. Yeah, so maybe the government's part of that, but I don't think that they necessarily have to be. I think that the community kind of does it itself as well.
Probably.
Do you ever feel that, as an American, rather, if Hillary had got into office, that she would have done anything with the stuff that was going on with Podesta, the leaked files? Do you think that was part of the plan that she had to try and get some of the conspiracy people behind her, or do you think that?
It's a good question, right? There have been a lot of ruminations coming out, suggesting that, right, that Hillary was ready to disclose stuff.
Because we are talking about disclosure here. This is the show.
And the Podesta, he's very clearly is open to that, and I think that he definitely wanted that to happen. God, yeah, that would I would love to see that alternate reality if Hillary won and what would have happened. It's kind of bizarre on the other hand too, because you would almost think that a Trump-like figure would be your best hope for someone taking the lid off any government secrets around UFOs.
Makes you think there's nothing to, because he did talk about it, didn't he?
He mentioned it
after
being asked.
Yeah,
Trump talked. But
I mean, what a great distraction that would have been to distract against all the other shit that was going on with Trump at the time.
It's hard to take the politics out of ufology when it's just pushed in your face constantly. It has become very political. Even the channels, a lot of the channels are separated because I see some channels are a little bit left, some channels are a little bit right, some channels are right in the middle. I try to stay right in the middle, but I like to get both the left and the right on, so that they fall out.
But isn't it weird? Isn't it weird that you talk about fucking aliens, and it lands on a fucking political spectrum somewhere? Do you know what I mean? Well, what difference does being right or left mean if you're talking about fucking intergalactic space people?
Well, yeah, I agree. Our society likes to politicize everything, right?
Yeah,
but
weird.
I don't think it is that political. To be honest, I mean, you see it in the Congress, things passing with bipartisan support. There's advocates on both sides of the aisle, which, I think is one of the cooler things of ufology is that it doesn't necessarily break down on political lines.
It's almost like if you wanted to create some sort of one world government, you could use some sort of alien invasion.
I mean, existential threats do unite people. I don't know if I buy that they're trying to do that, but yeah, I mean, I can see the logic behind it.
Oh, by the way, Rava, Lee did tell me before the show he's trying his best to get you to drop an F-bomb.
Did I?
No, I'm just putting that into his mind.
Oh,
I keep it relatively clean.
You do, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know,
everyone appreciates a gentleman.
Yeah, he is a gentleman.
Thank you.
He
Thank you.
is. Have you had any hate in this field at all?
Do I have hate? I get a lot of hate. I receive a lot of hate, but yeah. They're I mean, the whole pro Lou Elizondo contingent really hates it if you suggest anything that might be not cast him in a great light. And I get a good amount of people who don't really like me, but yeah, no, I don't have any hate to anyone in the community. I think that everyone's mostly are trying to get to the bottom of it, and however they think they can.
I don't know if I asked you this before on the last show, but did you get any correspondence with Lou after you asked that question?
No, I never have had like Lou's email. I've never really been in personal contact with him, and yeah, I haven't heard from him since then.
It's just Lou. It's just Lou that gets in touch with Lou.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could get his email address from Lou Jimenez and write him a note if I wanted to, but I don't really feel a burning desire to do that.
He's totally kind of like laying off. I've not seen him. I can't remember the last time I saw him on an interview. I think I've heard him on a podcast.
Well, he said he's kind of taking a step down from all the podcast experiences, and I think he might have been on one since then. And he did that Brazilian video a couple days ago. So his voice is still out there, but yeah, it is definitely becoming lessened and lessened.
You do think he's brought some good to the table, though? The field.
I mean, I don't think we'd all be talking here if not for Lou Elizondo, right?
Exactly.
He's what got me interested in it, as much as I will point out as my criticism of him. I do have a lot to be grateful for him as well. I think that he's brought this issue to the forefront. It's a extremely interesting issue. Scientists are now taking it seriously. I think he's probably the driving force between these laws we're seeing in Congress. So he's doing a lot to advance the issue, and I applaud him for that.
Do you think there would have been a Lou without TTSA?
That's a good question, and kind of goes to what was Lou's motives, right? Was his motives to join TTSA and make a lot of money, or would he have resigned if there wasn't something like TTSA to go to? I kind of lean towards TTSA probably is very responsible as well. You got to give Tom DeLonge and all those guys credit as well.
I think the other person that deserves credit, even if I'm still unsure about the guy, is Corbell, because without Corbell, you don't get the Bob Lazar and the Flying Saucers movie. Without Bob Lazar and the Flying Saucers, you don't get Bob Lazar on Rogan, which means you don't get George Knapp on Rogan. You don't get Travis Walton on Rogan. You don't get Bigelow on Rogan. And that's been the biggest mainstream push for people that aren't into this stuff. They've been the biggest shows. You don't get Freeba out doing podcasts. Without Corbell releasing that Netflix film, you don't get him on Rogan, and you don't get him on Lex Friedman,
and you don't get UFO attacks last Friday.
I have seen the logs. I have seen the videos. We have attempted shoot downs of UAPs on a regular basis. We're talking as recently as last Friday.
He's he's an amazing hype man, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's great at building.
I want to
excitement
drink
and-
with him. I want
Yeah.
to drink with that man.
Do you know what he'd be? He'd have been an excellent wrestler promoter. No, the guy that comes out that's the mouthpiece for the wrestlers that can't cut a promo. He would be an excellent one.
Yeah, I met him a couple weeks ago out at the SCU conference, and yeah, he
Oh,
was
did
a
you?
very, very, very charismatic, very personal guy. He was I'd love to have some beers with him. He seems like a great guy.
Are you going to get
Yes.
him on the show, or is he going to come on?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't actually explicitly ask him there. Maybe I'll send him a note. My guess is he probably wouldn't. I don't see him doing a lot of interviews where people might be asking kind of probing deeper questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
That's why he doesn't want to come online. I asked him. He got in touch with me a few years ago, and I can't remember what I did. I put a video about Lazani, and people probably think I sound like a broken record, but it was just odd. The man got in touch with me and he asked for my actual personal number, and I thought, it actually is Corbell. I'll give him my number, and lo and behold, he never rung me back. He messaged me a couple of times and said, "No, I can't come on an interview yet. I love what you're doing, but we need to have a conversation about Lazar because you're getting a few bits wrong." I would still like to have that personal conversation, Jeremy. I think when it comes to Corbell, he is very say that word for me, charismatic.
Yeah.
He is. He's but he also seems to be like the guy. He's the guy that takes his client. He goes with his clients, the clients that he has, the Fravor, the Bob, George Knapp. He took. Why was he in all of those Joe Rogan podcasts? Why was he on all of them?
That's interesting. That's almost like he was like stick the tinfoil hat on again. That's almost like he was kind of the handler for those interviews.
I have thought about this though, Lee, because doesn't Joe like to go out with the guests the night before the show?
Yes.
I reckon Jeremy's a fucking party animal, and
Probably.
Joe probably enjoyed partying with him. So he's like, bring Jeremy along.
I got the feeling every one of those shows, because I think that's something about Rogan that you can, as a professional interviewer as he is, I think you can tell really quickly when he doesn't like somebody.
Yeah,
I think you could see he does not like Tom DeLonge. And I think you could see he does not like.
I didn't think he didn't like him. I think
I don't think he liked him.
I think he thought he was an idiot.
Isn't that the same thing?
No. A lot of people think I'm an idiot, but I hope they like me.
I've got some news for you, Ollie. But I don't think he particularly liked Jeremy Corbell. But you see, the thing is, if like George Knapp has clearly picked Corbell to be his next guy. So there must be something, behind closed doors when cameras aren't on and he's not saying stupid things like he was about UFOs being shot down. There must be something to him if George Knapp has been the guy that's sort of picked him. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Hey guys. I just wanted to apologize for having to go.
Just don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about it. You had things to do. It's fine.
Yeah. Good show, by the way.
Sometimes man's just got to wank.
I have to ask, Lee, were you the one that was trying to make the screen bigger before?
No.
No?
No.
See, I thought it was you.
No, it was Rich.
And then I said, no, not that one, you silly man. And that's what I said. And he's like, you called me stupid. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, Rich, just come back on. We can all
just get along.
We can all have a cuddle. We're all grown men. We're grown men. If he thought it was you, then maybe he was like, don't call me silly. But you know,
I knew you were just doing it. It was just a joke because it was going wrong. Yeah,
And it didn't. Yeah, why would I ever say that to anybody here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't even say it to Rather. Well, because he's from the other show. I'm just being.
You have called me many a names over Facebook, Rich.
See, this is why I never turned over the leaf to be the nice guy. It doesn't matter. I could be as nice as the day is long.
Hey, Rich, you have one last chance for a channel change. You should call it the nice guy.
I don't know about that.
No.
I definitely don't like the Wise Guy show, though. I hate it.
What's the number in the top of your screen, Rich?
That's the clock, what time it is. It's a digital clock. It's a laser beam.
Right.
Yes.
Cool.
So you've been watching Rich from afar?
Well, I've been watching the whole time, yeah.
Good
conversation, by the way.
Which any closer to disclosure?
Are we?
What do you think about Travis?
You know,
I don't know if I've ever asked you that question.
You did, and then we had the incident. I don't think we're any closer to disclosure, but I like the direction that things are going. Gigi Abby Lynn with $10.01. I like where we're going. I like that we're doing things that we've never done before with consistency. So I'd like to see this moving at a faster pace than just once a year or every other year. So if we can keep this in the mainstream media at least once a month, I think we have a shot at getting more evidence up forward and more people, maybe whistleblowers coming forward that maybe have top secret information and no NDA or, get away with talking about it. We're in interesting times. This is a first for a lot of things. So I'm really happy.
I suppose the thing with keeping it in the conversation would be is if it can give somebody the confidence that comes across something that that isn't like the flare footage or the video of the radar screen. Maybe it gives somebody enough confidence to leak something substantial.
Yeah.
To leak a really good, clear video. Let's say one of the sailors on the Nimitz had a fucking iPhone and filmed it for 15 minutes. If that gets dropped, that's a game changer.
But I don't think that would be considered top secret, and wouldn't it be? Unless they did it with illegally.
Or no, or it was like it was through sort of WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
We're just giving you this.
Yeah, they would be able to do something like that. But I'm not sure how that works. Having a cell phone while you're working on a aircraft carrier. I don't know. I don't know what guidelines they have to follow.
Got to get those TikTok videos up.
But we are in interesting times, that's for sure. And unfortunately, I have to get going. I just wanted to come in and apologize that I had to leave earlier. And
Rich came on because he heard somebody say something nice about Jeremy Corbell, and he couldn't let it fly.
He just why do you think I said?
True.
I love Jeremy because I've just thought Rich is just going to be like, motherfucker.
And look, I'm so over it.
We have been trying for 2 hours. We've been trying for 2 hours to get Rava to drop an F-bomb.
No, come on, don't do that.
We've tried. It's
only in dire circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if you use the F-bomb too much, it loses its meaning.
No, he never. Rather, you never use it, my friend. Never.
He did once, I thought.
Yeah, he did. It was after a show.
You guys in the US have got it.
Last one.
You guys can still swear because cunt still means something.
Hey yo!
What?
My mom's listening.
Video. No, but that over here, that's the term of endearment.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It actually is. It is in Britain. It's weird. It's very strange.
We've got no swear words left.
No, in the UK you have 0 swear words. Like your son will just say, "Dad, get in the fridge, you dirty old bastard, and get me a donut."
I'd like to say my son.
And we keep our donuts in the fridge.
No, we don't. You fucking weirdo.
Yeah, we don't.
No.
But
Crazy
but I
press.
gotta go.
Before you go, Rich,
No. Yeah.
ask a rather fitting question.
Huh? I didn't hear you.
Before you leave, ask the greatest question to rather be squidding.
No
Is this a
pressure.
trick?
No pressure. It's not a trick.
I didn't
no.
know. I didn't have a question.
Wait, well,
really.
were you on last time we had Rather on?
Yes, and I did hear you asking him about Lou and all that stuff. And if did you ever? You never talked to Lou, have you? After that incident happened? No.
Unless I've talked to one of his sock puppet accounts on Twitter, which is maybe kind of likely actually. But
Is Richard Butt Lou?
I don't think he is. I think he went on a Twitter Spaces. I wasn't there for that, but he was talking, through his own voice, and I think that if he was Lou, that people would have called him out on that.
I got it. Okay, I still think that was him, but it isn't, I guess. Okay.
Someone close to him for sure.
Yeah. That's it, man. I don't have any other questions. Sorry.
It's just you came back in, Rich. I need you to contribute. Contribute?
I understood that.
Is that another British
Yeah, I
word?
know you did. Because you just know that I can't speak. Even my chat knows that I can't pronounce things. I'm just a Neanderthal,
You pronounce that well.
You're a white male.
Yeah, I had to learn that because my mum and dad called me it a lot. So it's just natural now.
Oh, Richard Butt is Rob Heatherly. Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway.
So GUFON, what's your show on tonight?
It's I don't know. I got nothing. No, we're going to be talking about what does it mean now that Tim Burchett has interviewed with Third Phase of Moon, and why why people are. I'm just going to talk about why people hate Third Phase of Moon, why they shouldn't, and I've done that before. But people are saying that they don't have any influence in this field. They're just hoaxers and bullshit artists, and I want to talk about them and other people in this field that do more than their share to get the answers we're looking for. Man, they're trying everything they can. Whatever you think about them in their past, that's in the past. Let's move forward. I don't really say that about a lot of people. Like, let's give them a chance. But Third Phase of Moon, I think, deserves it. And a lot of people out there don't feel they do. But if they're talking to Burchett, Greer, and everybody in this field, I mean, what are they doing it for? They're not just doing it for clicks and views. They want to get the truth out. And if you believe that, then it's very interesting. And then it's very interesting. I got to get going. I'm sorry, man. I got 1 minute to get on my own show.
You go, my darling. We're ending it
I'll
here
talk
anyway.
to you guys later. Love
Good
you.
night. God bless.
See you, rather. See you,
Bye-bye.
Lee. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, buddy.
I can't speak.
Rather, before we do get off, because I don't like to overrun over Rich's show, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on the Unidentified Celebrity Review. We air on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. I also have my own channel, Rather Be Squidding, where I kind of go through some scientific UFO stuff. And I got doing some research on whale communication, how we might communicate with other non-human intelligences here on Earth that we know exist. So go over and subscribe and stay tuned.
That is in the description, people. And I cannot tell you enough. Rav is a very intelligent man. Man?
Only one of me, as far as I know.
No, I feel like there's two. So we're going to call him Men. Rav is a very intelligent man. The channel is in the description. Go check it out and support the channel, people, and watch the videos because you may learn something. Lee, we've got a show coming up in the next couple of weeks that we did last night. Or is that like 3 weeks away?
No. There's a show up every week. The show we did yesterday will be up on my Patreon on Sunday evening. But yeah, there'll be a new episode of one of the shows that's already on Patreon. Will be.
And for anybody that
on
thinks
Wednesday.
that I need to do a show while I'm drinking, go listen to Lee's show because Lee, I am always sober as a judge. Am I not?
You are always sober as a judge.
because I'm working the next day.
Yeah. Come and listen to my podcast. Musty Audio is the best podcast you're not listening to. It's got all of Ollie's Alien Addict stuff on. If you can't stay up late and listen to them, you have the stuff we do together with Dave, which is always good, and my favorite thing I do all week, which is probably a bigger reflection on how much I do through the week. But anyway, it's good, and I enjoy doing it. So go and listen to Musty Audio.
You should get Rava on. You know, your audience are getting
You're-
into the UFOs.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah,
Dave-
fun
I think
conversation. Love
Dave
talking to
would
you
love
both.
him. Or the NASA guys would love him.
Yeah.
We need to get Rava on with the NASA guys. Rava, did you see the show
Ra-
with the
rather,
NASA guy?
rather on
No,
with
I
Max
know that.
would be ace. If,
Yeah,
if we
I'll
can
have
get
to go back and check that out.
if we can get Max back on,
Yeah, with
that would
Rava
be the one. Yeah.
and James
Yeah.
together. It'd be a matrimony. You know. Good
Can't
night,
wait.
God bless people. Mind the bugs, don't bite.
Stop talking, Ollie.
Do you know what? I've drunk 5 of these, and I think that they're like 4%. I drink low alcohol, you know, but it's hot here. That's what it could be. And I've not eaten enough. Good night. Oh! Just before we go, we have the knock with a 14. What is that? What is 14 knock? What is it? I don't know how much that is, my friend, but God bless you with the super sticker, the knock. And yeah, that's the one. I've been knocked for 6 by these 5 beers. I have no idea what's in them. Gee, you know what, Lee? I'm not drinking on my show ever again. Coffee all the way. Good night,
Nice.
God bless people. Mind the bugs, don't bite. I'm Alien. Addict, like, subscribe and share and all that jazz. And make sure you check out the descriptions below. And thank you, Bobby, for that last minute super chat. God bless you with the avocado. Love you all.